Hi, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Know Your Trox, where we give you the chance to learn a little bit about our current roster of dancers, besides just wonderful technique, comedy, wigs, and makeup. So this is the opportunity that we've created to ask them a few questions and let you, the viewer, learn a bit more about them. In this installment, we have one of my favorite people, the wonderful Philip Martin. Hi, Philip.
Hi.
Um, so, Philip, why don't we, for the viewers who do not know that much about you and have seen you perform with the company for a number of years already, why don't you tell us a little bit more about where you're from and what was your training and background like before joining the company?
Yeah. Well, I'm from upstate New York. Not too far upstate, about maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours from the city.
From the city.
Yes. And when I was there, I was working with a Russian coach privately named Natasha Bar. And she has produced a lot of really wonderful dancers throughout the years. They're in all major companies around the world. But I started working with her, and then she would bring me to YAGP. And then eventually, when I was 15, she sent me to School of American Ballet.
Yep.
And that's where I graduated. And then right from there, I joined the Trox.
So how did you first hear about the Trox? Like, you were already at SAB school and like SAB, and how did you come to learn about the company?
Well, I did know about the company before I went to SAB. So I actually started dancing and training on Point when I was 12. So I got to really know about the company very, very well from my teachers. They were always saying, "Oh, we really think you should do point work. This might be a good company for you in the future." But I mean, it's always still good for your technique to keep it up. So I was always doing that point work stuff. And then when I was at SAB, obviously I knew about Trockadero, but I couldn't take point classes there, so I was doing point classes in the dorm room by myself. But it was during my last year at SAB, and I didn't really think about going into Trox as like my career.
Yeah.
But it was the September of my graduating year at SAB, so I was 17, I saw on the audition board that there was a flyer for Trockadero looking for dancers. And I thought that was interesting that SAB would have something like that. So I emailed Tori and arranged an audition. Then I auditioned later that week, and he wanted to take me, but I was still too young and had to graduate high school because company policies. So I took class throughout the year, and then 4 days before graduation, Tori gave me my contract.
Incredible.
So, yeah, and then I remember actually asking Tori a few years later. I was like, I saw that when I first auditioned, I saw that there was a flyer at SAB. Did you send a flyer to them? He's like, yeah, I sent it to everybody. So,
yeah.
So I was like, oh, great.
Yeah, I don't think SAB would have gone looking for the flyer for Trockadero, but thank you, SAB, for posting it, because that's how we ended up with the wonderful Philip. Yeah, I mean, you are one of the very few dancers that have arrived to us at a very young age, and I remember freaking out when I was just like, he's just 17 or 18, like, we need to make sure that he is like a mature person, which you totally were, for the record.
Well, kind of. I didn't know how to really use an airport, but
yeah, well, but that's part of the journey, right? To have the opportunity to start touring at a really young age with a major company that tours the way we tour, major in the sense of like we're constantly traveling. So, so you're obviously you besides your exquisite technique and musicality, for those of you who do not know Philip is also a master point shoe fitter. And as he said, he's been working with point shoes since a really young age. And he also makes tutus. How did you develop those skills? I mean, you're so multifaceted. Is that all self-taught or?
Well, the sewing stuff, like I was definitely growing up sewing. My grandmother taught me how to use a sewing machine and everything like that. She was very, very crafty. So she taught me all the basics, basically, of sewing. But then when I was at SAB, I started getting a little bit bored, I guess, with certain things. And so I decided to venture out and see what other stuff I could do. So I started working at the time for Grishko, which is a Russian dancewear brand. Now it's under the name of Nikolai. But I was working for them and I was learning how to fit point shoes there. And then I was also fixing a lot of their tutus for them. So I was able to learn the Russian way of making tutus through that. And then after I was done with that, I was doing a little bit with Freed of London, and then I was fitting point shoes there. But then I was doing costumes more so on the side. But every summer when I would go to Chautauqua, I would always work in the costume shop as well. So I was doing a lot of stuff like that. And now I just do a lot my own freelance costume work.
Tell me about, like, in terms of the point shoes, though, did your love or did your interest in fitting point shoes, was that because you were having a hard time finding point shoes that fit you, that you like the way they fit and they looked on your feet? Or were you one of those few but very lucky people who found the stock size and you put it on and off you went bourang into the sunset, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely, for everybody, it's what I like to call a point shoe journey, to try to find the right shoe for you.
Yeah.
It took me definitely a long time to find the right shoe for me. And then once I did, that maker retired and I had to find another one like a few months later. So, no, basically, I mean, I don't necessarily remember what my shoes were like then, but I just remembered I loved all the aspects of ballet outside of it, that I wanted to really put myself into every little field. So that's like how the point shoe fitting really like took off with that.
Got it.
And also noticing like how other dancers' shoes fit, I really wanted to see if there was anything I could do to help, what I can do to learn about this, how difficult of a profession this could be. So, but then I really found I had a lot of fun doing it. So I've been fitting point shoes now for about 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, your knowledge of it is incredible. Because there's like a real understanding to what you're talking about. It's not, information that you've absorbed and now you can just regurgitate. So the fact that you have worn so many of them and you've helped so many females get point shoes and probably a few men, probably a few men as well, make you like such a, highly sought person to fit a shoe, which is great. The other advantage for us at least, the other advantage of you joining so early is that while you're still young, you have had an opportunity to perform a variety of roles within the company. What would you say is your favorite piece of the Trox repertoire to perform? Which one is your favorite role? The stuff you've done.
Well, I'm going to give two because one is an obvious one, Swan Lake.
Yeah.
Well, Swan Lake's obvious just because I've done Odette, I don't know how many times, a lot, since I was 20. So, but another one, which might be a surprise, which I only did my first year and I was in the corps in, but Laurencia.
Wow.
Laurencia is one of my favorites.
What would you say makes it so? The music, the costumes, the choreography, what?
Well, definitely the music. The music is wonderful. The choreography is fantastic. The way Elena Kunikova staged it on us I feel is absolutely superb. It's also one of those, it was such a big triumphant Russian ballet back in the day and made such an impact on those Russian audiences that it's just so inspiring as a dancer to be able to make that come back to life. I mean, it was just great. I loved it. And
we should start a campaign. Let's start a campaign to bring Laurencia back. Tori, if you're watching this, let's bring Laurencia back. It had great costumes too. I will say
awesome.
that. That's good to know. I actually
backdrop.
I know. Well, that one you can replace that one, but new costumes. I didn't expect you to say that. That's such a neat thing, actually.
I loved it, and I was learning it like when I first joined the company, and I was like original cast for us.
Yeah,
so
I
remember.
It made
it feel a little special.
Well, I'm gonna go into a Laurencia journey when we finish and dig out photos of when we did that at the Joy. You mentioned loving the Laurencia music so much, which brings me to the next question I wanted to ask you. You are an extremely musical individual. In all aspects. I mean, Philip hears things in the music that nobody else hears, which is incredible. But we perform mostly with recorded music. Only we recently get the chance to start performing with wonderful live orchestras all over the world, and in Genoa, in Bari, at the Kennedy Center. And you had the opportunity to perform Odette at the Kennedy Center when we did it at the Eisenhower with the Kennedy Center Orchestra. What did it mean to you to be able to perform that role with a conductor and the Kennedy Center Orchestra as opposed to doing it with recorded music, which you've done many times?
Right. Well, it was a completely different journey, I would like to say. Just because it was, when you're doing it with canned music, you're able to get very used to what those things are, and then a lot of muscle memory could be relied on for that. When you're doing it with live orchestra, it forces your ear to have to listen to every single little nuance that's there, and also it also kind of challenges yourself to know, like, do I have this in my body completely, where I could just like listen to any speed of this music and I'm able to control my body into the speed, or is it that I feel a little lost? So, and that's like that big thing. But dancing at Kennedy Center, that was just like a big, that was like a big deal. That was a big deal. And got to do it opening night. Nonetheless, I got to do it with Gio, which was great.
Yeah. Tell me something though. When you say performing with a live orchestra, and I mean George, of course, an incredible conductor that is like right there with you. So there's absolutely. So that opportunity to have that give and take, obviously, is part of a really important partnership. But when you say that you have to be really present in the moment to be able to play with the nuances of the music, do you think, does that come instinctively to you, or are you mathematically, you know what I mean? How much of that is mathematical for you, thinking like, oh, this is changing, versus your body just reacting to what George in this case was throwing at you, you know?
I would say it's both pretty much, because you have to, there's instinct, of course, to rely on, but you can't rely on your instinct 100% of the time, or else it's not going to be like, you know, a perfect throw. So you need to use your brain there and to make sure there's control, but using the muscle memory to help is what will help with that.
Yeah. I ask you because I remember you being, you know, I know you very well now. We've known each other for several years. So, and as a stage manager, I could see that you were in, maybe not nervous, but very focused in it, as we were expecting everybody to be in such a momentous occasion for us. But, and I had seen you perform the role so many times, so beautifully, and then there was an extra level of extra, you know, personality and connection with the audience that you were able to bring for that performance, which, you know, so much of it has to do with the live music, you know. It's really great to hear that for you it was such an important occasion as well, you know. So.
Yeah, and I remember too, that specific moment in my career was basically like what solidified everything for me, like all the training that I went through, the possible I don't know, not scandal, but almost scandal of me joining Trockadero right away as a very young person. I feel like it just proved everything to be, everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, you were ready. You were ready.
And it was just so, and then when Tori said that, I made him cry during that performance, so naturally I cried. So it's going to be a very special moment, ballet in my heart, and that whole evening. And then when George told me as well that his score for the Swan Lake Pas de Deux was the same score that he used when he was conducting at ABT on one of those great, amazing ballerinas, and he has like their last names in it, like just like all those big greats from back then, the ABT, and he lists the names, and then mine is under there now too.
Wow.
On his actual score.
So,
it just made me feel like, when I first joined Trox, is like, can I make a career as a ballerina? And then that moment solidified, yes, I can, and I can do it well.
That's great.
Great to hear. That's what I love.
So now that we've been off the road for several months, and so has everybody else, what are you doing to keep yourself together, in shape, physically, mentally? How are you managing? Are you during these times?
Well, I've been teaching a lot online, doing a lot of ballet classes online. I have a studio in my house, so I'm able to keep myself in shape while demonstrating, and they're able to look and stuff like that. I'll be starting point shoe fittings again in a few weeks. So that will be happening. But yeah, and then I have some costumes to sew and stuff like that. So it's all just, you know.
So the time is going by fast, or are you cannot wait to get back on the road?
I'm really looking forward to going back on the road. I do miss my Trock family and you obviously, but I mean, obviously, there's certain things we don't miss about touring, but I mean,
Of
the
course.
greatest reward part we miss. But it's yeah. So I've just been like staying around, being with my pets and everything. So
It's like
they've been
that's a
enjoying it.
luxury for us sometimes too. You know, we
Yeah.
don't necessarily have the chance to do that. Well,
Right.
Philip, thank you so much for taking this few minutes to chat with us. Before I ask you for any final farewells to the
Sure.
audience, I just want to remind everybody that closures and cancellations because of COVID-19 have really disrupted access to revenue for artists and arts organizations alike all over the world. So if you're enjoying the content that we are putting on social media and other companies as well, and it's within your capabilities to do so, I would urge you to consider donating to the company. You can do so by going to www.trockadero.org/donate. I'm also including our Instagram address at Le Ballet Trockadero. You can follow us there to see some more of the content we're putting up. This series are always advertised on Instagram. Also, there has never been a better time to seek further education on anti-racism in the United States and all over the world. So we definitely need to do our part to end this social pandemic once and for all. Most importantly, when we get back on the road and all of these dance companies get back on the road, please come and support us live. All of these performers dance for you, and they can't really do that unless you come see us at the theater. So please come see us at a theater near you when we're back on the road. Philip, any final thoughts for the audience during this time?
Well, I hope everybody's doing well at home and doing their tondus. But most importantly, staying safe, wearing a mask when out, being as kind to one another as we can, and just really looking forward to everything else that we can do, not only in the dance community, but in every other community once we get out of this pandemic.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, everyone.
Isabel.
Keep on trucking. Bye.